Did you hear that? No, not the school bell. Something else. Something much darker. Buckle up, because tonight I'm sharing the most terrifying night of my life, right here in the hallowed halls of good old Blackwood High. It all started innocently enough. I was stuck late at school, detention for. Well, let's just say I may have accidentally set off the fire alarm during chemistry. As the last of the teachers departed, a strange stillness settled over the building. The familiar sounds of lockers slamming and kids laughing faded into an unnerving silence, amplifying the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the main hall. I was alone, or so I thought. The fluorescent lights flickered intermittently, casting long, distorted shadows that danced along the walls like spectral figures. The air grew heavy, thick with an almost palpable sense of unease. I tried to focus on my punishment, writing lines about the importance of lab safety, but a nagging feeling kept pulling my attention towards the shadows, towards the periphery of my vision. I kept hearing faint whispers, indecipherable words carried on the drafts of the old building. At first, I dismissed it as the old pipes groaning, the building settling, or just my overactive imagination playing tricks on me because I was the only living being left within the walls. How wrong I was. So wrong. What started as uneasy tension quickly turned into pure, unadulterated terror as the whispers grew louder, the shadows darker, and the temperature dropped drastically in front of my very eyes. The whispers seemed to be emanating from the old auditorium. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind whistling through the cracks in the boarded-up windows, but a morbid curiosity, and perhaps a touch of teenage bravado, compelled me to investigate. I crept down the hallway, each step echoing unnaturally loud in the silence. As I reached the auditorium doors, I could feel a cold draft seeping from beneath the crack. The whispering was louder now, clearer. I could almost make out words, mournful sounds carried on the air, like someone was calling my name softly. Hesitantly, I pushed open the heavy doors, the hinges protesting with a long, drawn-out screech that seemed to amplify the tension tenfold. Inside, the auditorium was shrouded in darkness, the only light filtering in through the gaps in the boarded windows, casting eerie beams of light across the dusty stage. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Then, I saw it. A figure, standing in the center of the stage. It was translucent, shimmering in the faint light, a ghostly apparition of a young man. He was dressed in an old-fashioned school uniform, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes hollow and filled with unspeakable sadness. He seemed to be looking directly at me, but through me, as if I wasn't even there. Fear gripped me like a vice. My breath caught in my throat, and I was paralyzed, unable to move, unable to scream. The spectral figure raised a hand, pointing towards the back of the stage. His lips moved, but no sound came out, but inside my head, I knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted me to find his diary, which was hidden behind a loose brick in the old storage room next to the stage. It was a story that was never supposed to be told, a tale of sorrow that happened many years ago, and has resulted in the spirits of the dead haunting Blackwood High, looking for the story to be told. At that moment, I knew I had to run as fast as I possibly could, but a morbid sense of obligation was telling me to stay. I had to know the truth about the spirits of Blackwood High. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I forced myself to move, slowly approaching the stage. The ghostly figure remained motionless, watching me with those hollow eyes. As I reached the edge of the stage, I hesitated, unsure of what to do next. I took a deep breath and climbed onto the stage, the creaking of the wooden planks echoing in the silent auditorium. The figure seemed to fade slightly as I approached, its form becoming less distinct. I made my way to the back of the stage, towards the storage room. The air grew colder as I moved closer, and the whispers intensified, swirling around me like a vortex of despair. The storage room was small and cramped, filled with old props and forgotten set pieces. Dust motes danced in the beams of light filtering through the cracks in the walls. Following the ghost's directions, I ran my hand along the wall, searching for a loose brick. I quickly located it and pried it free, revealing a small, leather-bound diary hidden behind it. The moment I touched the diary, a wave of cold washed over me, and the ghostly figure vanished, as if fading into nothingness. Trembling, I clutched the diary tightly to my chest and stumbled back out of the storage room, back onto the stage. I needed to get out of there, but the diary felt oddly heavy, like it was weighted down by the secrets it held. I turned and ran, fleeing the auditorium as fast as my legs could carry me. I didn't stop running until I was back in the detention room, the relative warmth and normalcy of the room offering a small measure of comfort. I sat down heavily at my desk, my heart pounding in my chest. I looked at the diary in my hands, its leather cover worn and cracked. I knew I had to read it, to uncover the secrets of the ghostly figure in the haunted auditorium. I flipped open the diary to the first page. The handwriting was faded and shaky, but I could make out the words. My name is Thomas, and this is the true story about what happened at Blackwood High. I am warning you, this is not for the faint of heart, proceed with caution. As I read through the diary, a chilling tale unfolded. It was a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge. Thomas, the ghostly figure I had seen, was a student at Blackwood High many years ago. He had been in love with a girl named Emily, but their relationship was tragically cut short when she was murdered by a jealous rival. Thomas, consumed by grief and rage, sought revenge on Emily's killer, but his plan went horribly wrong. He ended up accidentally killing someone innocent, which resulted in his suicide. Thomas was guilty, and his death created this ghost that haunted the halls of Blackwood High. As I continued to read, I learned about the curse that had befallen the school, the spirits of the dead trapped within its walls, forever reliving their tragic fates. The diary went on to describe in vivid detail the other hauntings that had plagued Blackwood High over the years, the ghostly apparitions, the unexplained noises, and the overwhelming sense of dread. The more I read, the more I understood the nature of the haunting. The spirits were trapped, unable to move on because their stories had never been told. They were desperate for someone to acknowledge their existence, to understand their pain. And now, I was that someone. I had stumbled upon their secret, and I knew I had a responsibility to share it. But how could I? Who would believe me? I was just a kid who got stuck in detention. It would seem impossible for anyone to believe me, but I owed it to the ghosts of Blackwood High to try. The last entry in the diary was a plea. Please, if you find this diary, tell my story. Let the world know what happened here. Only then can we finally find peace. The diary was soaked with a dark, dried-up liquid, blood. It was the blood of Thomas and the blood of his victims. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I knew what I had to do. I closed the diary and took a deep breath. I had a story to tell. I knew that sharing the story would not be easy. I would face skepticism, ridicule, and perhaps even accusations of being crazy. But I couldn't ignore the plea in Thomas's diary. I had to honor his memory, and I had to help the trapped spirits of Blackwood High find peace. The next day, I went to school determined to tell everyone what had happened. I started with my friends, sharing the story of Thomas and the haunted auditorium. To my surprise, they listened intently, their eyes wide with disbelief and fear. They knew about the stories of hauntings at Blackwood High, and now the story has become more clear to them. After that, I went to the principal, telling her everything. She dismissed it as just a kid talking, but she said she would look into it. The principal came and told me that what happened at Blackwood High would not be revealed to anyone. She told me to shut up, and I would get out of detention sooner. Even after all the discouragement, I had to tell everyone about what happened at Blackwood High. And that's exactly what I did. I am sharing the story with you now, the terrifying tale of Thomas and the haunted halls of Blackwood High. And I hope that my story will inspire others to share their stories of the paranormal, and if you know of any tragedies that occurred, make sure the story is heard, or people might die. The ghosts of Blackwood High are still there, waiting for their stories to be told, and if my story can help them find peace, then it was all worth it. Blackwood High still stands to this day, and it has been abandoned to keep the stories of the tragedy a secret, but the story must be told. Do you think the stories will be heard? I am scared, and I hope my stories are enough for the ghosts of Blackwood High. What do you think? Have you experienced anything like this? Tell me in the comments. So, that's my story. What did you think? Pretty spooky, right? Let me know your own paranormal experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to Like this video if you want more scary stories. Comment your thoughts and theories. Subscribe to my channel for more spooky content. Share this video with your friends who love horror. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you dare,